We live in a world now where any mobile device has this amazing ability to break down our frames per second when we're filming ourselves swinging or working on whatever we're working on. Now, understanding what we're seeing when that slow motion breaks down is crucially important. In today's video, we're going to be talking about what contact looks like versus an outside or down the middle and inside pitch. Now, if we understand what this is supposed to look like, that there's an illusion involved in what the proper contact is supposed to look like, we're going to be able to apply that knowledge to our own swing so that this bat is moving at its fastest point at contact so that you can maximize your output. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, when you guys are working on this at home, there's two main angles that we like to deal with. We talk about this in the hitting system in the pro setup section. When we talk about our camera angles, we want to be either shooting from down the line or face on. So face on would be this camera angle that you guys are looking at right now, where the camera's pointing directly in my center chest. This is the view that we're going to be talking about today. Obviously, there's contact points that we can look at from the down the line view, but this is the crucial one to understand when we're talking about what does it look like between an inside, down the middle, and outside pitch. Now, the first thing that we need to understand is what do we want to have happen? Well, put simply, anything we're doing in hitting, we're trying to maximize this bat speed into the contact area, and we want this bat moving as fast as possible. So if we swing 100 miles per hour, we want 100 miles an hour hitting this ball. That's not always the case for a lot of hitters. Now, how do we do this? Well, if we understand, we talk about this in a lot of stuff. Like I said, we would want to concentrate on how this looks, but it's crucially important to understand if we're releasing the bat properly, that's when we can maximize output into the ball. And the key checkpoint here, guys, it's a very simple checkpoint, is that the fastest moving point of the swing, move a little closer so you can see this, the fastest moving point of the swing is just before the full release. So the full release, how we define it in the Pro Speed hitting system, is when this bat, when it reaches its furthest, the tip of the bat reaches its furthest point away from the body, away from the hands. If we were to draw a line shooting straight through that bat into our center chest, when this bat starts splitting the forearms in two, so in my vantage point, how I'm looking at this bat is splitting my forearms directly in half, that is the full release. The fastest moving part of the swing is just before that happens. So if we make contact and then release, the fastest moving part of the swing is just before that full release. That's lever physics. It's very, very important to understand this. So if you're hitting the ball here and then your full release isn't happening till back here, which is very, very common, if you're swinging 100 miles an hour, you may be getting 60 or 70 miles per hour into the ball, or 60 to 70%, because not a lot of guys swing 100 miles per hour. But the idea is, if we understand that we want that contact just before the full release, now we can start to understand how we want to hit these different pitches. Now, do we swing differently for different pitches? The answer is absolutely not. Our swing is always going to be directional to the ball. We want to make sure that our direction is to the ball when we're making our swing. The swing does not change. The only two things that change are where we make contact with this ball in space and time. So that is here, if I'm set up, this is my down the middle pitch here. If I'm hitting an inside pitch, I'm going to be hitting that ball a little bit earlier. If I'm hitting an outside pitch, I'm going to be hitting it a little bit later. That's the first thing that changes. The second thing is the direction of our hands. Our hands are going to be a little bit different, or going to go a little bit differently to an inside pitch, so that I can direct the force in the direction of that ball, versus an outside pitch where I want to direct the force of my bat into the outside pitch. Those are the only two things that change: where we make contact and the direction of our hands. Now, how this is supposed to look. Let me go ahead and get a couple of these tees out of the way. Now, this is where it's very, very important to understand the illusion of what contact looks like. So we know we want to have contact just before the full release. So we make contact, full release. I know that I'm set up for a down the middle pitch right here. This is my ideal contact point. The barrel of the bat is going to be in front of my hands at contact here on this down the middle pitch. So from your camera view, you should be able to see barrel and then hands if you were looking at it from your right to left. I hope that's right. Shooting camera is a little bit funny, but if from your right to left, that barrel should come before the hand. So when you're looking at this on camera, you're going to want to be seeing barrel in front of the hands on the down the middle pitch. Now, what does this look like when we start varying it up, inside and outside? Well, inside's really easy. We know from what we just saw, the inside pitch is going to be hit further up in space and time. So if I go ahead and set up for an inside pitch, we know that when I make contact with this ball, I'm making contact here, then full release. That barrel's obviously well in front of my hands. Now here's where it gets a little bit tricky, and this is where you really need to pay attention to the illusion of hitting or letting this ball get deep or staying inside the ball. You'll hear this a lot of times, that the contact point doesn't change. You'll see a lot of outside pitches when you're looking at face-on views of big league hitters hitting outside pitches. Oh, they're letting the ball get deep. They're letting it, get into the zone so they can take it the other way. Yes, they are. They're letting the ball travel a little bit further, but they're still releasing the bat ideally at the same time. So if I'm right here and I make my swing on a down the middle pitch, this is perfect contact. The only thing that changes, again, is my direction of my hands and the space and time. So we're going to change where the ball is. I'm not going to change the relationship of my bat and my body at all. And all we're going to do is we're going to move that release point back. And you can see right there, let me move this up a little bit so we can make sure this camera angle is perfect. So this is my down the middle pitch. I'm going to move to an outside pitch. I have not changed that bat releasing in front of my hands, but on camera, it's going to look as if my hands are in front of the barrel at contact. That is so crucial to understand. This is an illusion of the release. It looks like, if this is my down the middle pitch, it looks as if this barrel is behind the hands. That's not how we want to hit the baseball in an ideal situation. If we're late on the ball and we get a little behind it, we hit it the other way, get a hit, that's fine. We're talking about ideal contact. And on an outside pitch, that ideal contact, that bat is still being released in front of the hands. It's just happening, our direction is going to be this way. It's just happening a little bit later, and it looks like the barrel's behind the hands. So keep that in mind. That is an illusion of contact. So guys, the best way for you to work on this at home is to get yourself a tee. Make sure you understand the perfect tee setup. A lot of my online students have a little bit of trouble getting started with this at first. So one of the very first things we work on is making sure this tee is set up correctly so that we can groove the ideal swing. So that release point is in the ideal location, because if we're grooving an ideal swing on the tee, that's where our swing is going to strive to go when that ball starts moving. When we start seeing the pitcher in the game and we start getting under the gun, our swing is going to start striving to go to that ideal contact point, because that's where we're training. So understand, we want to get this tee set up. The number one thing that I see in tee setup that is incorrect is we set up with this tee too close to us. We want to make sure that if anything, we're erring on this tee setup being a little bit further away from us so that we can allow ourselves to get our hands, our direction and our release in front. Now the other most common one, of course, is the ball's too close to us this way. So as far as depth is concerned, so we have pitch location and depth. Depth, if this ball is down the middle of my stance right here, well, I'm having trouble ever releasing this in an ideal situation unless I do something like this, trying to get the barrel in front of my hands. I need to make sure that tee is in front of me so that I can release the barrel in front of my hands. So for those of you guys that are members on the website, forward tee extension drill, great place to start with this. And for something for you guys to work on today, get your camera when you're checking out. I'm sure all of you guys have filmed your swings at some point. Set up your tee and play with this a little bit. Get your release going right. Make sure you guys check out the release videos. You understand how to release the bat, and then say, okay, I'm going to hit one down the middle. So we'll go ahead, low stride. We hit one down the middle. Say, okay, check that one on camera, and then go ahead and then try an outside pitch. How that's going to look on camera, that tee is going to look a little bit deeper in my stance, but it's also going to be further away from me. So we're going to go ahead and set up for that outside pitch. It looks a little bit deeper, it's a little bit further away from me, and we'll see here on camera, I still release the bat at the same time, but the appearance is that my hands are in front of the barrel, when in actuality they're not. Knowing what you're seeing on camera, guys, is crucially important, and if you understand it, you can dominate it. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video, but stay tuned. I got an even better bonus coming up for you. If you want to make sure that you're releasing that bat on time, but we got to get in the right transition to make sure that we're in the right place to release the bat. And in this bonus video that I'm going to play a preview of at the end of this video, it's going to show you exactly how to do that, where you can get immediate feedback today with the wall drill. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you like the video, make sure you hit thumbs up and leave a comment if you have any questions, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Today, I'm going to show you the #1 move that kills bat lag. But most importantly, we're going to do a drill that will instantly give you a tight transition into bat lag and have your swing looking drastically better today. The move that I'm talking about here is when we're going into our transition and the bat lays down And now the only thing that we have to rely on for bat speed is our pure strength. From Mike Trout, he does this really, really well. You'll see as we pause him here in the max bat lag position, his barrel is really high, and you can see that it's barely dipping into that line. You can imagine if this was a nail and this bat was a hammer, if I was trying to hammer this nail in like this would be kind of like me dumping the bat. But if I'm letting this hammer swing and slam into this ball over and over again, I'm going to be very, very efficient. Now, I'm sure you guys are ready for it by now. Let's go ahead and dive into the wall drill. All right, guys, here we go, the wall drill.